Hey everybody, extremely long time no talk to. Haven't done a lot of videos lately. I've had all sorts of stuff come up, been very busy in lots of other regards, but I wanted to do a video because something came in the mail today that I've been waiting on for quite some time, and that's not a slam on the length of time it's taken to get to me. That's just how excited I've been to get it. So, back in the day, I did a video unboxing and walkthrough of this guy right here, Battle for Biternia. This is a Game Crafter version. As you can see, very much a prototype, and the bits inside were very prototype at the time. It went up on Kickstarter. It was successful, very happily so, and now I find myself in possession of the final edition of the game, the official version. As you can see, it got a little bigger box-wise. But it's the same image, however, it's kind of zoomed in quite a bit on here. The image features the same characters, but there's, you know, cutouts for all of the details on here and everything. The back of the box looks much better than the original prototype version. Yeah, it's here. I also, because I'm so excited for this game, sprung for the playmat version of the board, which is quite gorgeous. Very happy with it. The board is completely functional and very fun. The playmat is going to enhance the experience even more, so I'm excited about that. But because I unboxed this in the past as a prototype, I wanted to go ahead and unbox it again with the final version and see what's changed, what excites me now, and just in general, take a look around, because I've been waiting for this one for a while. To give you some idea, I had this with me at BGG-Con 2017, and actually lost my copy at BGG-Con 2017, ended up ordering another copy off of the Game Crafter so that I could film my video. I brought it with me so I could play it, and ended up losing it, but now I have it. So let's take a look. So, box, just, you know, standard box lid. The rule book, which has the same artwork as the cover and the original. The rule book was already pretty good when I first took a look at it back then. They've obviously added a lot more art and updated things quite a bit. I did give some feedback on layout or particular things. Yeah, it's got some pretty cool diagrams and sidebars and pro tips, and very cool. It's also got hero profiles in here of the various characters in the game, which is really cool. But yeah, really cool. I'm looking forward to diving into this later. But for now, let's go ahead and look at everything else. So we have a whole bunch of punch-outs here. So we have a punch-out that appears to be lots of gold and various tokens that the characters use, as well as what look like some dials here, maybe health trackers for the various towers and or the endgame crystals that you're trying to defend. This game does simulate a MOBA, so it's very much one of those kind of team versus team games where your objective is to destroy their home base, and I think those will be tracking the hit points of said home base. We've got the towers here, the defense towers, the red tower team and the blue team's towers, as well as the two crystals. These are the very things you're trying to defend. It looks like we got some more tokens. Got a couple blank tokens here, blank standees and stuff. Might be able to do some cool stuff with those myself. And then, speaking of standees, we have a whole mess of characters. These are all different characters that you can have on your team. Really, really cool to see them all. The pixel artwork in this is absolutely fantastic. I love it. I loved it back in the day. Fabio Fontes did the artwork and the pixel art. You may know him from Level 99 games. He's the primary artist on Millennium Blades. He's also in the past done a lot of their other stuff, like Pixel Tactics, for example. So, really, really accomplished artist. I love his work. It's not at all surprising to me that what he's done here is gorgeous. So, we've got a bag of standees. It looks like we've got red team and blue team standees. They're all plastic, and I'm imagining those little character portrait standees slide into those. We've got some tracking cubes here in red and blue. I'm guessing these are for tracking character levels and hit points. That does seem to be the case, because this is one of the player boards. So in the original version of the game, these were completely flat. These are raised, so they have a raised bevel for those cubes to go in to track character hit points, and then the character's level up here. Each character starts at level 1 and can level all the way up to level 4, which lets them introduce cool, awesome new abilities into their deck. The card spaces are also slotted. This is a simultaneous action selection game, so everybody lays down their cards at the same time, and then you reveal them all around the table in turns. So the player boards exist. There are 4. If you're playing 2-player, you control a team of 4 heroes. In a 4-player game, you have one set of 2 heroes each, which in teams is my favorite way to play the game. I absolutely love playing it with 2 heroes and having one other player on my team who also has 2 heroes. There aren't enough team games in the world as far as I'm concerned, so having another one I can add is great. We have the cards. We will open these up in just a bit. But first, the last thing that's down in here is the standard board, which, as you can see, is the same artwork as the playmat. There may be a few embellishments on the playmat, but I'm not entirely sure. There may be. But one of the things that I'm noticing right away is if you look at let me see if I can get it close enough to the camera. If you look at the towers, there's rubble there. However, you can see the little numbers there. It looks like I am correct. Those little dials will lay on top of the board and will point at the amount of hit points that those towers have left. So you don't need a separate tracking device. You can just look at the board and see where it is. I can see now, looking a little closer, those are also on the mat. So the little hit points are tracked directly on the mat now. They used to be tracked on a separate board, player board that you kept between the player boards. Each team basically had one, but it's cool to see them now being directly on the board, making it a little bit easier to ascertain that knowledge. As far as which towers are hurt, which towers are strongest, what your best line of attack should be, what your enemy thinks your best line of attack will be. So I went ahead and opened up some cards, and one of the things I can already see is one of the things that we were promised is unique artwork for the character's special abilities. That does appear to have come to pass. Each one of these is a unique piece of pixel art. In the original game that I had, the prototype, there was one piece of art for each class. For the most part, there were some generic pieces of artwork as well. And none of them were bad. They were all this quality of artwork, but you would see the same piece repeated multiple times, or they had placeholder art that was black and white, that was just a generic piece that they used for various things. But every character appears to have their own setup, and they all, you can tell who they belong to. They all have their own special icon, like this is a Medusa character. And then there's a bull here who has like a ring. And then this looks like the level 99 games Runica character, who has one of her little artifacts as a logo. And then they got a little puffball character here whose special ability is Om Nom Nom, which is freaking amazing. They got a pirate here with broadside, plunder, grog, and vast abilities. But yeah, they've got a ton of different characters. And here we go. They also have a set of cards that are landscape, which specifically detail the characters. And I think these are reference cards, specifically. They show you that character's icon, they tell you kind of what that character does, and then they tell you what cards, what powers belong to that character. So this is Sorellin the fighter, Carrick the wizard, Sterling the archer, which is still one of the best puns I have ever seen worked into a board game. Anybody who gets that, sploosh. Then we've got Caligar the cleric, Kunoichi the assassin, Motley the monk, Boreas the hunter, Cyrus the paladin, Gladiator the barbarian, Dazim the ice mage, Felix the duelist, Baldwin the bard, Cynthia the fire mage, Agatha Trench the minotaur, Sedusa the gorgon, Runica the artificer, Dolgale the yomp, that's the Om Nom Nom, Longshanks the pirate, Ken Obi the apprentice, Ken Obi, okay, I get what you're throwing down here. And then we have summaries of some of the different keywords in the game, like ranged, area, stun, immobilize, confuse, stealth, heal, and shield. And then on the back it kind of shows the hit points and ranges of the main towers and the defense towers that exist. And we got two more things of cards in here. It looks like, and I could be wrong, but it looks like there may be enough room in this box to store the gamepad, which would be absolutely wonderful. I would love to be able to store the game mat in here. I may have to remove the insert, but that's not a huge loss. The insert is one of those travel inserts that's just one big well in the middle of the box, which is perfectly fine for travel. You know, a lot of companies get a lot of flack for inserts not being good for storing game components, and while that is something that an insert can do, the primary function of an insert is to keep all of the components safe from damage during shipping. That's what it was originally there for. You can have it serve double duty and have it be a really nice place to store all of the components, but that's not what originally inserts were supposed to do. So when they don't serve that function, I'm not one of those people who cares a lot. You probably won't be stuffing it into a quiver simply due to the size of the mat and the boards and the various other components. It's a little bit large for that, so you'll probably be taking the box wherever you go regardless. And if you can get everything into the box, including the mat, I'm having some problems getting a hold of the tab on these cards. They have the nice little like ribbon around the side to open them, but I was having problems getting a hold of it. Once I got a hold of it, as you can see, it opened just fine. Then we have the generic cards that everybody starts with, which have a more generic, almost like X-Men Danger Room looking grid on them. Not a lot of texture, not a lot of background, but there's strikes, parries, dashes, and defends. Every player will have some of those in their deck. And then here's the specific character cards for your heroes. Again, there's one of these for each one of the reference cards. basically, you as a player will have this, and then your opponent will be given one of these. So here's Saralyn the Fighter's reference card, and here's Saralyn the Fighter. This is something that we noticed when we were initially playing it, is that if you weren't overly familiar with the game, in other words, you didn't know what all the characters did or who they were ahead of time, sometimes people could pull off crazy moves that just kind of surprised you from out of nowhere. And since this is a simultaneous action selection game, you kind of want people to be able to plan accordingly. And if you don't know what your opponent can do, then you can't really plan around it. So that was something that my friends and I brought up, and the reference cards were added to the game. I know that there were a couple of other people, I believe, who brought it up as a potential issue. Once you know the roster and you know what the player or what the characters can do, the reference cards aren't necessary. So they're an extra component that like experienced players won't need, but are really, really useful for newer players getting into the game. So I'm glad to see them in here. They gave me a couple of bags. I'm putting all of the individual character stuff in here, and then all of the reference cards, character cards, and generic cards in the other one. I'll probably rebag it more specifically later, but for now I just kind of want to get it back into the box. Player boards, slot right in there. The other pieces, I will punch all of these out off camera. I'm not going to make you guys sit through that, but all of them will assuredly get bags as well. And then that's it. So I'm super impressed with the final product. I love the way it looks. It's definitely an update from the prototype that I played back in the day, not just appearance-wise, but also functionality-wise. Having the life trackers for the towers and stuff directly on the board is a bit of a stroke of genius. The reference cards are going to make it a lot easier to start playing with newer players. Everything's really clear and really laid out really well. It'll be fun to look through some of the abilities to see how they've changed or altered with playtesting, and to look at some of the newer characters that weren't in the original version of the game. But overall, I'm really, really happy. I'm glad that this is finally on my shelf. As a prototype, it was one of my favorite games of the year, so I imagine that this new full version of the game is going to be very highly regarded by me as well. The gameplay won't have changed that much, just a few balancing things here and there and some clarifications of abilities and everything, but the core gameplay was already solid, so it's great to see the rest of the product, the presentation, the graphic design, and the final artwork live up to that promise. Anyway, if you're at all interested in it, the game is called Battle for Biternia. It is from Stone Circle Games and was designed by Chris Falkenberry, and Fabio Fontes did all of the amazing artwork for it. Lots of other people who aren't written on the front of the box, but Stone Circle Games kind of covers all of them. It's good, y'all. And it says 2 to 4 players. You can play it 2-player with each player controlling 4 heroes, 3-player with 1 person controlling a full team of 4 and 2 people controlling 2 each, or, you know, the full-on 4-player scenario where each player is controlling 2 heroes. All player counts work really well, as long as you're familiar with how the characters that you've chosen work. So that's gonna be it, y'all. Good to record another video, and hopefully I get a chance to get this to the table soon. Anyway, talk at you later. Bye.